Hey guys, Bugcat7 here. Okay, it is Saturday, February 9th, 2019, and I want to thank you for visiting the Stonewall Research channel here on YouTube. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it, and I would really appreciate it if you hit the like button, guys. That's help support the channel, and at this time with censorship on YouTube and all that kind of stuff, yeah, I guess we need all the help we can get. Today I want to bring to you a sort of unknown archaeological site. It's actually a megalithic site that's sort of close to home in Central America. As a matter of fact, it's in the highlands of Mexico, just south of Mexico City in the state of Morales. And the place is called Chimalacatlan. And there's another area too, Huaxtla, where there are megalithic stone constructions on par with those in Peru and those that can be found in, the Mediterranean area, in the Middle East, etc., etc. So, again, it's one of these sites that they're just sort of ignoring. They want to tell you about the Aztecs and the Olmecs, and this happens to be, considered by mainstream the oldest archaeological and stone constructions in the Americas, in all of the Americas. They believe this to be the oldest society in the Americas. Those, what they call the Tamahuacan. And this would be before the Olmecs and, before the Aztecs and the Mayans and all of that. This is the oldest civilization. According to legend, their ancestors came from the north and from the sea, and then came to this place south of Mexico City here, Chimalacatlan, to settle it. And an archaeologist in 1891, William Nivens, an archaeologist was there, and he reported just seeing miles and miles of these ruins, these megalithic cyclopean ruins in the highlands of Mexico there, with pyramids and other structures. And again, like Brian Forster has in his videos, this is one of those places that wasn't buried by mud, but was like blown up, exploded, like down there in Peru and in Egypt, etc., etc. The place seems like it was destroyed by something and wasn't covered with mud and all that kind of stuff. So you have these sort of two things going on in the past with, mud floods, all over the place, and also these megalithic sites being like blown up by something. So in any case, back to this site that you probably don't know anything about, and maybe Chuck from CF Apps might have done a video on it, I don't know. But I'm going to show you some pictures, and you can see in the picture there's a fella standing in the pictures there that shows you the scale of this basalt. So even at the time of the Olmecs, which, everybody thought was the earliest civilization, but no, it was this one here, the Tamahuacans. And, they didn't have any metal tools whatsoever. They didn't have copper tools. They didn't have anything. And they cut these, perfectly fitting basalt rocks. And also on bedrock, they seem to have been able to level off bedrock as well. So we're talking about these extremely primitive people, allegedly, who are building with megalithic block. And, the whole thing is inexplicable, and the site is basically ignored. It's ignored by archaeologists worldwide. It's ignored by Mexican archaeologists. Nobody pays any mind to it. They don't want to explain. It's one of those things where, these are like the motivational poster, doofuses. They do whatever the motivational poster says. Move forward. We can't figure this out. So just leave it alone. We have to move forward and give the people what they want. An interesting story about the past and that we don't know anything about, but we're going to give them a story, right? That's what they want. It's one of those kind of things. So when you see the pictures, I have some pictures of this site. there in Mexico, and there in Chimalacatlan and Huaxtla, where these megalithic sites, where these perfectly fitted stones, and you can see it in the pictures, you know, even at Huaxtla, I think it's even finer construction over there that nobody knows anything about. You know, it's just another one of these sites. And again, it's related to my research in this way. You know, we don't know what the history is, actually, of the Americas. So, you know, to call it the New World and all this kind of stuff, you know, we don't know if it's new. It seems to be that, you know, the Americans were like pounded by something, and if there was something old here, it was completely and utterly destroyed in the past. So, you know, that whole new, you know, quote unquote, New World thing, you know, that's, you know, what they, you know, the European, you know, explorers gave it and whatnot. But, you know, it's a misnomer. We don't know what the history is here. And again, this site just proves it. A site that they ignore because they can't explain it, you know. So let me just show you some of the pictures in the picture set here. And we'll go through the pictures one by one and look at these pictures here, because you can just see it. The work is incredible. It's just amazing work. And let me see if I can get the picture set here. Let's see. Just bear with me. My computer's a little slow. But we'll get the pictures over here. I'll show you this unknown megalithic site. You know, if you thought they were only in Peru, that's not quite true. You know, we have these in Central America, and we have them in North America too. You know, there are some researchers who have found sites in North America that appear to be megalithic. So, here we go. All right, so you can see by the scale, here's a fella standing right here, right? You can see by the scale of this, and this is basalt. Some of this rock is basalt, and especially at Huaxtla. But look at the scale. Some of these, you know, blocks here are perfectly fitted and, you know, huge, you know, tons. Some of them weigh up to 20 tons, as they reported there, that are on top of these things. So just look at the scale. Here's a fella down here. You see it? Okay? Look at the size of the stone that's used in here, and the pretty fine level of construction here as compared to the Aztecs, which, you know, Mexico City, all have pyramids there and whatnot, are very primitive construction by comparison. Okay? At least, you know, the mainstream knows this. Again, they're ignoring this site. They don't like it. You know, they don't like what they see here. They can't explain it, so they just, you know, going to move on and give us whatever kind of story we're going to buy. Look at the fella here, and compared to some of these stones in here that have been cut in this rectangular fashion. But you can see at Huaxtla later in the couple of photos later, an even finer level of construction. Okay, this is Huaxtla now, I think. And these are just, you know, part of the miles and miles of stuff that the William Nivens, the archaeologist in 1891, saw here and thought to himself, you know, this is by far, you know, on par with the, you know, megalithic constructions that to be found, you know, in the Mediterranean. In his opinion, here's a fella here standing in here. Okay, and these are giant blocks of basalt. This is basalt here. Very hard stone. You need steel to cut it. Here's a corner of a pyramid here, but some of it's been wrecked by something, destroyed by something. Look at the level of construction here. I mean, you know. And this is also on bedrock that's been flattened out. Okay? So just like Chuck from CF Apps says in a lot of his videos that, he believes the pyramids in Egypt were, on this, on later, built on bedrock that was, preconditioned flat, worked flat somehow. Well, here we have it on bedrock, built on bedrock too, and you have this megalithic cyclopean construction here, okay, at a site you never heard about. Chimalhuacatlan and Huaxla in central Mexico, and nobody knows anything about it, I mean, it's... So I just wanted to bring that to you. In my research, I come across these things, and I came across some picture sets here, and I wanted to show you just another, inexplicable megalithic site that's on par, with the constructions in Peru and elsewhere in the world that, they're not paying any attention to. And it tells a different story about the Americas and, how it relates to the stone walls of New York and New England and all the stone constructions here. Well, it may have everything to do with it. We don't know. We're putting the pieces together. But if, certainly if mainstream has, no intention of focusing on these things, I mean, we have to get our information in other ways, So they also mentioned that they found on these constructions, they knew they were older because they found the Aztec style constructions on these things where it had, the later civilizations had adopted some of these structures. They found those constructions. You know exactly what they are. They're extremely primitive with mortar, etc. And these are all dry laid, fitted stones. So, you got to keep that in mind, folks. Again, we just don't know our past. We don't know the history here in America. To call it the New World may be a total misnomer, a mistake that we're making based on what was found here, what wasn't found here, And like a lot of people believe, and Velikovsky believed, that all sorts of events were going on this planet for a very long time, and even maybe in the recent history, maybe in the 1800s. These things keep on recurring, and they don't, want to include it in history or whatever for maybe psychological reasons. Maybe they know what's going on. Who knows what the reasons are, but, certainly we know the past is being kept from us, hidden from us, being systematically destroyed and, marginalized, whatever it is, There's just a lot of fishy, questionable things going on. You got to keep that stuff in mind. So anyway, guys, I just wanted to turn you on to this, little known about archaeological site in Mexico where, again, getting closer and closer to North America, we have these megalithic and cyclopean constructions that go for miles and miles, these huge cities in the highlands of Mexico that nobody knows anything about and nobody cares anything about because they can't explain this stuff, so they just figure, you know what, let's move on. The state of Mexico says they're mysterious constructions. Mysterious, okay, so do you want to figure out the mystery? And it's like, nope, sure don't. It doesn't make sense, so, but, there may be lots of reasons for that. All right, guys, anyway, I just want to do this short video on this, little known of archaeological site in Central America, Mexico, but with these, huge megalithic construction cities of basalt, one of the hardest stones on the planet. And they just, cut a bunch of giant blocks and moved them around. No problem, who fed these people, what kind of population they have, where'd they come from, the north, from the sea, and all this kind of stuff, and they were called the Khans. Chan, or the Chans, I guess, or whatever they called the serpent people. Isn't that interesting? The serpent people, the Khans, the Chans, whatever they are, the serpent people. All right, guys. Anyway, Buttcat7 signing out. Hope you liked the video. See you the next time, guys. Peace.